Hi everyone, good evening. Tonight I'm really honored to share with you small ideas to prepare for Rosh Hashanah. The theme of the class is really how to create a real lasting change and become the person we're meant to be. I know that as Rosh Hashanah gets closer and closer, some people feel very stressed, very emotional. Other people, they feel like they fear, they're like scared of Rosh Hashanah happening. And they feel it's time to change. It's time to go in front of Hashem and ask Hashem for so many blessings. But we need to show Hashem that we're a different person, that we're making an effort. And every new year, it's kind of the same story. Every new year, we go and we say, no, I want to grow, I want to change, I want to become a different person. And we make so many good decisions. And then Rosh Hashanah passes, Yom Kippur is behind us, and we forget all the good decisions and we actually stay the same person. So my goal tonight is that we leave this class as a different person already, and we have the tools to truly change. We need to understand how to change, and we need to use this tool to actually change our person. And changing is something that is the most consistent in our life. We change from the minute we're born. We change our shoe size, we change our clothes size, our hair grows, we don't have the same hair, our voices change, anything changes. Life is always changing. Life is always becoming different and different. So we need also to change. And especially in the time we live in, if you look around you, never before have things changed as quickly as they do now. I'm not even talking about the latest iPhone. By the time you get a new phone, there's already a new one coming out, right? And I'm talking about values also. Look how the social institutions such as family, that's changing. People, they don't have the same notion of obedience, acceptance. Everything is changing. There's a breakdown of tradition in this world. There's a development of technology. The world is changing, and we also need to change. So right before Rosh Hashanah, where do I start? What do I do? How do I change, and how do I make my wishes, my hopes become something that is actually something real? How do I make that happen? How many times do I promise myself I'm going to stop having my phone around my kids for dinner? I'm not going to get upset when someone speaks to me in a tone that I don't like. And a few days later, or even a few hours later, I already break my promises. I cannot change. It's very difficult to change. Or some people, they will go to a class, they will listen to an amazing, inspirational speaker, and then they will go home and they will forget everything. All the excitement leaves them. How do I do to keep that excitement? How do I do to keep that will to change and to actually implement the changes? How do I do that? So let's talk about this secret. Think about a SWAT team. A SWAT team has to train every day of the year. They have to train a few times a day if they want to be effective, if they want to be good, when we'll need them maybe once a year for 15 minutes to fight a terrorist attack. Even for 15 minutes for a whole year, they need to train every day. The same way, a true change, we need to work at it every day of our lives. And I know we're very close to Rosh Hashanah. So sometimes we don't have the whole year, but we have just 1 month. Look at that month that is right before Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. It's the month of Elul. Elul is the last month of the year. But interestingly, the first letter of the month of Elul is Aleph. Aleph is the first letter of the Jewish alphabet. Which means that even if it's the last month of the year, the fact that it's the month right before Rosh Hashanah, right before Yom Kippur, it's still the beginning of everything. It's still a new chance, a new opportunity to transform my life. So let's talk about this. To succeed in life, you need a plan. No one is going to create a business without a business plan. You need a plan. You need to make sure that you have everything set up, that you have everything prepared, that you have everything, that you have a vision. You know where you're going. So you need to first sit and face yourself. Ask yourself, what blocks me to change? Why am I afraid? Why am I always getting upset? Why am I always on my phone? Why I'm always making the same mistake. Ask yourself, what is happening inside of you? You need to know and understand that. You need to stop reacting and you need to start acting. And I'll give you a very easy example. Someone talks to you and your first reaction is like, I don't like the way she talks to me, and right away you answer back to that person. You always make the same mistake and then you end up fighting with everyone around you. So you're reacting. You don't take the time to think, pause, and what am I doing? Why am I acting this way? What is triggering me from that person's speech, from that person's question? Once you face yourself and you understand your fears, what's bothering you, then you'll be able to actually tackle it and you'll be able to move on, to go to the next speed, to go to the next level. And you have to define also what is really in your control. Why am I saying? Because as we grow up, we experience different traumas, different upbringing, different families, different parents, different types of educations. Everything that we go through shapes us, makes us the person that we are. And some things we don't control, and we have to accept that. Why is it so important to accept that we don't control everything? Because if you think you're in control and you keep failing at changing yourself, you will actually be like wallowing in despair. You will be disappointed in yourself. And if you're disappointed, you will stop trying. So it's extremely, extremely important to understand that some things are beyond us. Some things just come from how we were brought up, our education, our lives. And it doesn't mean that we can't change it. It just means that it's going to be a little harder. The Baal HaTanya says something very beautiful that I heard from Rabbi Weinberg Jacobson. The Baal HaTanya explains that we each have our unique light in this universe. We each a very special person. But at the same time, Hashem gave us the blueprint for the neshama, for our soul. And there is something that is very common to all of us. We have to understand, who is me? Who am I? How do we understand that? There's two parts of me, the Tanya tells us. One part is the garments, the levushim, the clothes. And the second part is my midot, my core, my essence. My core, my essence, my midot, this is what I experience. It's created as I grow up. It's my inner motivations, my inner emotions, my fears. Anything that actually I'm brought up with. Anything that I experience and that I cannot change that easily. It's part of my nature and it's also part of my nurture. While the levushim, the clothes, that's completely different. My clothes, if I don't like them, I can just go and change them. No problem. But I cannot change that easily my heart, or my leg, or my hand, or my nose. That's not that easy. I mean, I know you'll tell me plastic surgery and transplants, but let's agree that it's not that easy. So naturally, there's very easy to change my clothes, but not very easy to change my body. What do we learn from that? My body is what we explain. It's my core, my essence. It's who I am, the way I'm being brought up. It's very difficult to change. I'm going to have to work really hard to change it. But my clothes, what are my clothes? It's how a person express themselves into the world. Through three channels, the Tanya tells us. Machshava, dibur, ma'aseh. The thought, the speech, and the action. I'm giving you an example so you understand. Someone is talking to you and that really, really upset you. The way you feel, your first reaction to being upset could be because when you were young, someone spoke to you that way for a long time and you developed this trigger. So when someone speaks to you that way, right away, you're like, you're blocked, right? You're stuck. It upsets you. But machshava dibur ma'aseh, your actions, that you can control. Maybe you cannot control what you've experienced when someone was speaking to you that way, but you can control how to react to that. What are you going to do when someone speaks to you that way? I'll give you an example. This couple went to this rabbi and the husband said, I'm really upset. I cannot go anymore to my mother-in-law. She's driving me nuts. Every time I go to her house, she makes comments. She's super mean. There's always things that she says and she does, and I'm going nuts. I cannot go to her anymore. I don't want to go for the Chagim. I don't want to go for the holidays. And the rabbi says to him, you know, instead of always reacting like this and it triggers something to you, I have an idea. Take a paper, write down everything you think that your mother-in-law is going to say or do. Write it down. And every time she does it, check mark. Ah, I knew. So instead of going and being upset, oh, she said that, you laugh about it. You're like, anyway, again, she said it. Oh, was expecting that one. Ooh, that's a new one. It changes your perspective. So that's what the Tanya explains. That even if it's painful sometimes, we have to have this critical acceptance. That we have to accept that some things we won't be able to control because it stems from just the way we're brought up. It's going to be harder to work on. But there are other things, my machshava, my dibur, my maaseh, my thought, my speech, my actions, that I can control. What I'm going to do with what's happening around me, that I can control. So once I realize that I can control my conscious, active thoughts, my words, my behaviors, even if I'm triggered by something, I'll be able to control the trigger. I'll be able to actually deal with it. I won't allow my inner fears, my past experiences to take over my mouth, for example. I won't allow that to happen. I won't allow something to happen that I will regret later. I will be able to be in control. Yes, it's happening, but I know who I am. I know my me. Remember? We're going back to who am I? Face yourself. And that's the number step to a critical change. Without understanding yourself, without understanding what triggers you, without understanding who you are, you cannot advance in life. That's number one. It's the first step for true change. And that's why most people cannot change, because they're afraid to face themselves. It's hard. You have to be honest with yourself. And that's very difficult for some people. That's why you have to start by this. That's why you need to do this in order to truly change. And you have to remember and understand that true change, as we said, can take forever. And you can tell me, you know, I'm a fake. So that I'm going to pretend that it doesn't bother me, but inside of me it really bothers me. That's a good point. But you know what? How you avoid being a fake, or how you avoid like just being depressed that you can't change? Very simple. By knowing what you're capable of, knowing your limits, and always pushing yourself a little bit more than what you think you're capable. Always push yourself a little more. You know what Ford was saying? Henry Ford was saying something very interesting. He was saying, whether you think that you can or you think that you cannot, you're right. It's all in your mind. Whether you think that you can or you think you cannot, you are right. If you tell yourself that you can do it, you'll be able to do it. If you keep repeating, telling yourself, I can't, it's too hard, you cannot do it. I was giving a shiur last week and I was telling them that story that just happened with my son. I asked him to clean something that he spilled on the floor. And I tell him, go clean. And he's like, it's too hard, I can't. And I told him, but you can. You truly can. You just take the paper, you go on the floor, and you clean what you did. Very easy. Just do it. Just try. Just try. Of course, I wasn't happy with the result. I had to do it after him when he didn't look at me. But the idea is that if you tell yourself, I can't, of course you cannot. You push yourself. You push yourself to the best of your capabilities and you're honest with yourself. How much can you do? Very important. Now let's give some very practical tips to change yourself. Once you've done that step, now we can go to practical tips. First one, you have to add an idea to an action. Let me explain to you. You're thinking about dieting. You can talk about it all day. I need to lose weight. I need to lose weight. I need to lose weight. How many people New Year, they all say, oh, I'm going to eat healthy starting tomorrow. And a week later, they're back at eating hamburgers and French fries. What makes you actually do what you say? Very easy. Don't just say something. Immediately put it into action. I'm going to diet, so I'm going to cut sugar. So starting now, no more sugar. So you actually don't just say things, you do things. I'll give you a very good explanation that we have in the Torah. In the Torah, dans Safar Shemot Parashat Yitro, we received the 10 Commandments. So amazing, the 10 Commandments, the way we received them. It's like, it was a movie, right? There was a movie made out of it. It was so cool. And the way they did it is that it was thunder, lightning, something out of this world. People were like elevated, they were flying, they were high. They were high of all the spirituality. And the following parasha, Mishpatim, the one that right after that, what is it about? It's all about responsibility. What happens if your cow goes to someone's house and destroys everything? What happens if you have a slave? What happens? Very practical, very dry, very loveful. How do you go from like some lofty idea, some spirituality, some like going with God on this Har Sinai to do this, don't do that? Because the ideas were beautiful, but if you don't put them into action, you will forget all the lofty ideas. They will just stay ideas. They will go to waste. If you want to actually act upon something, you need to do a decision on the moment. You leave a class where we tell you about the importance of giving tzedakah, and in your head you're like, whoa, wow, that's really nice. I'll give some tzedakah. No, you leave, take a coin, put it in the tzedakah box. Take a decision right away, right there. How am I going to give the tzedakah? I'm going to help in family in need for the chagim. I'm going to give a donation for that. So you take action. You just don't stay with the nice idea. You take action right away. So that's one way to actually accomplish your goals. Another way to change is to choose something realistic. Let's say you're a couch potato. Let's say you're someone who's never exercised ever in their whole life. Always like watching TV, eating chips, not moving. And you're talking to them about health, and they go to a class and they're inspired by the coach. And you tell them at that moment, wow, so what are you going to do? And they're like, oh my goodness, tomorrow I'm going an hour hiking. But you really know that they cannot go an hour hiking. They will never do it. So why do you think you're going to change overnight from going for something crazy, from being sitting on your couch to going an hour with this like really steep high? You can't. So what do? You're smart. You say, okay, I'm going to go walking tomorrow for 10 minutes. That you know you can do. Anyone can start walking. It's easy. It's something that you can accomplish that is realistic. Same thing. You want to change. Don't go and start going with like huge goals and like amazing ideas. No, be realistic and create steps, step by step. The closer you are to your goal and the higher the step goes. Very simple. I was giving that idea at a class a few weeks ago. I was in France a month ago. I came back, I had jet lag. I was so tired, my God. And I kept waking up at 3 a.m. I was going crazy. My kids kept waking up at 6. So I couldn't even catch up with sleep. The day was like non-stop. I was like, how am I going to do that? I need to sleep. So what I started to do, I started to go 15 minutes later to sleep. So instead of going at 10 p.m., I went at 10:30, then 15, then 10:30, then 10:45, then 11. And after a few days, I was catching up on my jet lag and I wasn't tired anymore. And I was waking up at 6 a.m. again. The idea is that you go into incremental adjustments. You go slowly and slowly and slowly. That's how you break a bad habit. By going step by step. And that's how you succeed in keeping that change. Another idea would be to visualize the change. Look at it. Close your eyes. Think about your business plan. Okay, what do I see? Look at yourself in 6 months, in 1 year, in 3 weeks. Where do you want to be? And imagine yourself. Because if you visualize yourself, it will become something concrete, something you want to actually apply, something you want to actually change. So extremely important to take a minute, 30 seconds, an hour, whatever is good for you. But close your eyes. Visualize yourself. See yourself where you want to be. And the more you'll do this, the more you'll change. To go back to what we explained earlier, that we have the external, like clothes, machshava, dibur, maaseh, the thought, the speech, the action, and we have the actual essence of ourselves. a very interesting idea is that how do you change your essence? You start by changing your clothes. Meaning that if you dress always a certain way, it becomes kind of you at some point. It becomes who you are. So if you speak a certain way, you also become that person. If you're always negative, and you start speaking positive, I just bought the book, The Happiest Man on Earth, which is written by a Holocaust survivor. And the book is all about this person who almost died maybe like 5 or 6 times. And you read this story and you're like, oh, you cannot believe how he escaped death every time. How can you be happy? His whole family was killed. How can you feel happiness? But he explained that. He said that he forced himself. When you start deciding that you're going to smile, then you become a happy, smiley person. It's very simple. You just have to understand that and accept it. You need to become what you want to become. Does it make sense? Yes. Because first, maybe you'll play and maybe you won't be exactly who you want to be. You know, this person went to the Rabbi and they said to the previous Rabbi, they said, you know, people, they all come to you and they'll put a costume for the holidays because they all want to look like very religious to you, and the rest of the year, that's not how they dress. So you know what, this year, I decided I'm going to come with my weekday clothes to you, the Rabbi, because I'm not a hypocrite. And the Rabbi said to him, you know, the whole year you put him a costume. The whole year you're in a costume. It's when you come to me that you have your real clothes. Meaning that sometimes it's just the clothes that we have. If we visualize ourselves, if we transform the way we speak, the way we act, the way we think, then ultimately we'll become that person that we want to be. Another very beautiful idea, and we have that from the prayer, from the tefillah. We say to Hashem in the brachot, in the first blessings of the day, to God, we say, please make sure we have good neighbors, good friends, because the social environment is extremely important. Who are you with? Who is around you? Who is your support system? We all need a very effective, kind support system. We need to surround ourselves with people who are like-minded, like us. We need people who also want to succeed, who also want to advance, who also want the same thing as us. That's what going to propulse us, going to help us to go to the next step. You know, they had this, there's this scientist, and her name was Wood, and she had this test that she made at like this university. People were watching too much TV. So they were trying to see how to decrease, you know, watching TV. And they took students, they put them in 2 separate rooms. In one room, they put the TV in exactly the same place as in the rooms in the university. And in the other room, they changed the place of the TV. They put it in a different corner, completely different emplacement. At the end of the few days, the people who were in that room where the TV was moved, was not in the same place, they all watched barely any TV. While the other one, who had the TV exactly at the same place, they kept watching as much TV as before. What's the point? The idea is that sometimes, if you cannot change your environment. Change what's around you, and that will help you actually change yourself. Sometimes you're just in the wrong place. You know, I was watching Meir K, which is a very interesting person, and he said something beautiful. He said he was in Sequoia Park, and he was next to this huge tree, and he was feeling so small next to the tree. And then he went on a hike the next day, and he went up a mountain. And from the mountain, the tree looked super small. What's the idea? The idea is that sometimes you're just in the wrong environment. Sometimes things look so difficult, so tall to you, and other times you can look upon them, on top of them. But what you need to do? Climb the mountain. It's work. You need to work on yourself. You need to be willing and ready to put the efforts in. But then you'll be able to change the perspective that you have. And I'll go with another and the last idea, which is be true to yourself. My dad was telling me a cute story. He was saying once they had a contest. It was the Americans against the Russians against the Israeli. The contest was to go into the Amazon forest, and they hide they hid an elephant in the Amazon forest, and every team had to find it. And whoever would find the elephant as fast as possible, that team would win. So the Americans were the first team. They went into the Amazon forest. Whoa, they right away got the GPS, the satellite, the CIA, the FBI on the ground. Everyone was like, the army, the navy, everyone was, boom. They went to the Amazon. Within a week, they found the elephant. Great job. Then the Israelis came. Immediately they called the Mossad agents. Within a day, they found the elephant. Then the Russians came. And they look around and they look around and they look around the Russians and they cannot find the elephant. After a week, they go to the judges and they bring a sheep in front of the judges. And the judges are like, that's not an elephant. We ask you to find an elephant. And the Russian says, that's white. You're white. This is not an elephant. But after a week, he confessed that he is an elephant. Meaning, sometimes you try to force someone to pretend he's not what he is. But that's not who you are. You need to be true to yourself. You don't need to be Hillel at Tzaddik. Hillel at Tzaddik, for example, you go in the Mishnah, in the Gemara, in Pirkei Avot, you read so many stories, right? One story is all about how people were trying to get him upset. And he was so patient, so calm. Sometimes we cannot be that patient. We cannot be that calm. And it's okay. Because we're not expecting you to be, but we're expecting you to be you. And how do you know that you truly change? Sometimes it's when you have the same challenge, the same problem, but you react differently. Instead of actually reacting, you're acting differently. And that's when you know that you've truly changed. That's when you know that you're not the same person. If you find yourself doing the same mistakes over and over, then you haven't fixed anything. Then you have to work deeper on yourself. My dad always says that if Hashem keeps us alive after we make a mistake, it means that he wants us to fix it. It's as simple as that. The beauty of life, the beauty is to go to sleep at night and to wake up and to get a new chance, to have a new day ahead of us. Every day is a chance to change. Every day is a new opportunity. You know, a person went to see this rabbi and they said, I don't understand God. We do the same prayer every day and we repeat ourselves and we repeat and we repeat and it's always the same. How is God not bored? And the rabbi answered, because the problem is that it shouldn't be the same prayer every day. Every day you should be a different person doing the prayer. If the prayer hasn't changed you, then you haven't connected to the tefillah the way it's supposed to be. Changing, you can do it every day. Every day a little something. So when you will, I was about to say go home tonight, but you're already home. So when we are leaving tonight, this amazing festival, and thank you Erez for organizing it. Just remember, you can always take a minute, say a blessing. Remember to give more love around you. Remember to give tzedakah, to think about people who need, charity, who need our help. Remember when you're about to lose patience, pause 1 second. Why am I losing patience? Why? How can I stop that? What can I do to help me act and not react? And think about it. Remember that the power of this month is the month that starts with Aleph. It's the beginning. You can start over. Aleph is also the beginning of the word Aluf, champion. And Aluf ha'olam. I'm the champion of the world. You can and you will, Be'ezrat Hashem, do the deepest, the most lasting change for this new year. And may this bring you a lot of blessings, a lot of joy, because you'll see that when you transform and change yourself, you become a happier person. People, they want to know define what's true happiness. It's to actually enjoy, appreciate every day, and change. And every day become a little better, and a little better, and a little better, so that you connect with your true self. Shana Tova umetuka. I wish you a very good and sweet new year. Thank you.